Scarcely a day goes by without an announcement of more carnage on our overcrowded roads. For the driver, there may be a quick journey to a hospital bed, or even something more permanent. This program looks at what happens to the vehicles involved in road accidents and provides a basic understanding of the repair procedures. These vehicles are obviously totally beyond economical repair, but here the decision is a more difficult one to make. At first sight, there appears to be only minor damage, and it's confined to this area. However, closer examination reveals that in fact extensive damage has occurred. For instance, damage here and here indicates that the whole rear of the vehicle has been pushed forward. The car has already covered over 112,000 miles, and the estimated cost of repairs is greater than the book value of the vehicle. So this one is also a write-off. When it comes to finding out about repairing damaged vehicles, the Motor Insurance Repair Research Centre Thatcham is the place to go. Since 1969, when it was first established by the British motor insurance industry, Thatcham has been busy with research to improve the standard and reduce the costs of vehicle body repair. The extensive workshops and the highly skilled personnel are only part of the story. There is a team of experienced work-study engineers, a training department, and a video unit, all backed up by computer and word processing facilities. There is also a unique low-speed crash simulation system for the creation of controlled impact damage. About 50 impacts are carried out each year at a speed of 15 kilometers per hour, about 10 miles per hour. Extensive research has proved that impacts carried out by Thatcham at this speed reproduce damage which is comparable to average road accident damage. 65% of the accidents occurring in this country cause damage to the front of the vehicle, 25% cause damage to the rear, and the rest occur to the sides of the vehicle. Prior to carrying out any repair work, an estimate must be prepared. But before taking a closer look at these damaged cars, let's examine the whereabouts of some of the body panels which may crop up on an estimate. The terms used are those in common use at Thatcham and may differ from terms used by manufacturers. This Ford Granada body shell is serviced with no mechanical, electrical or trim components fitted. The bonnet, both right-hand doors and the tailgate have been removed. Beginning at the front, there is the headlamp panel. The front crossmember. The bonnet landing panel. The lower screen or scuttle panel. The bulkhead or firewall. The flitch panel, sometimes known as the inner wing or the engine compartment panel. The front chassis leg, which extends right back underneath the passenger compartment and is sometimes called the front longitudinal member or the engine side rail. The front wing. The A-post. The B-post, mentioned in the title. The C-post. And the tailgate drain channel known as the D-post on estate cars. The rear wing, known as a rear quarter panel on two-door cars. The outer wheel arch. The dogleg. The sill panel. The cant rail. The inner sill. The inner rear wheel arch, also known as the rear flitch, the inner wing, or the wheelhouse. The upper screen rail. The transmission tunnel. The floor pan. The boot floor, sometimes called the luggage compartment floor or the spare wheel well. The tail lamp panel. And the rear panel. Underneath the vehicle there is the rear cross member and the rear chassis leg, also known as the rear longitudinal member or rear side rail. Not every manufacturer will provide the parts shown as individual panels, but any of them could appear on an estimate. This estimate is for the Seat Ibiza, which has just been impacted. It includes all the items which are to be repaired or replaced, and the time required to complete each operation. Times are also entered for items which need to be removed and replaced to allow work to be carried out. Some of the major items damaged on this car include the rear bumper assembly, the left-hand rear lamp assembly, and the tailgate, which has been pushed forward, causing distortion to the inner frame. After the removal of mechanical, electrical and trim items, damage is revealed to the rear panel assembly, the boot floor, and the inner left-hand rear wheel arch. Checking underneath the vehicle, the rear cross member and the left-hand rear chassis leg have both been damaged. Other work which needs to be carried out includes replacement of certain trim items and painting. When everything has been taken into account, a final total repair time is arrived at of 44 hours, which is typical for such an impact. This is the estimate for the frontal repair to the Peugeot 309, which was subjected to an impact at a speed of 15.32 km per hour. Damaged items include the bonnet, the right-hand front wing, the right-hand headlamp panel, the lower radiator grille panel, the front cross member, and the right-hand flitch panel. When everything has been included, there is a total panel repair time of 13 hours and an overall repair time of 43.5 hours. Again, very typical for this kind of impact. Let us imagine that this car has just been towed in following an accident and take a look at what happens next. The repairer is already busy preparing an estimate. Meanwhile, the policyholder is filling in his insurance claim form, which he sends to his insurance company together with the repairer's estimate. Claims department staff process the claim and enter an initial estimate of the cost of repairs.
That's an insurance company, it's the engineer. I'm checking to see that you have a white Metro.
The paperwork is then passed to an engineer who arranges to visit the repairer and examine the vehicle.
Right, I'll be down on Wednesday to inspect this vehicle. Excuse me, Chris.
At the repair centre, the engineer inspects the vehicle and compiles an estimate of his own, which he can then check against the repairer's. There's usually a certain amount of discussion between the engineer and the repairer before agreement is reached. For instance, in this case, the repairer wants to fit a new heater box, but the insurance engineer thinks that a repair might be possible. Once the estimate has been approved, repair work can be started. Meanwhile, the engineer's report goes back to the claims department, where an update of the estimated cost is entered into the computer. So what does this cost represent in terms of men and materials? It will cover the work of a number of skilled personnel, including an estimator, a trimmer, a mechanic, a panel beater, and a painter. It will also buy all the new panels needed, paint and sundry items, mechanical, electrical and trim components, and corrosion protection materials. Altogether, the work will take a total of 98.5 hours.
Thank you very much.
The repair completed, the driver comes to collect his finished car. He pays any excess or contributions necessary and signs a completion note. The repair centre prepares the final account and sends it to the insurance company for payment. Some of the procedures which may be adopted during a repair are worth going into in more depth. These will be shown using various vehicles which have passed through Thatcham's workshop recently. A body jig, although not necessary for cosmetic or superficial panel repairs, is essential for any work involving the structural or load-bearing areas of the body. A jig is a very accurate measuring device, making it possible to work to a tolerance of plus or minus 1.5 millimeters. First, a survey can be made of the present dimensions of the damaged vehicle. Then pulling equipment can be attached to the jig and the vehicle pulled until it again conforms to its original dimensions. In some cases, as here, it's necessary to remove the engine and transmission unit when pulling a vehicle. A jig is also required for accurate alignment of the new panels. When the damage is in the steering or running gear areas, it's important for steering geometry checks to be carried out on repaired vehicles to ensure correct wheel alignment. In addition, repairers often find it useful to do a geometry check when preparing the estimate, in order to avoid problems later on. Misalignment of the steering geometry can cause abnormal tire wear, heavy steering, and vibration. Parts of the front crossmember on this car are made of HS or high-strength steel. Since it's stronger than an ordinary steel, a reduced thickness can be used, thus enabling a reduction in vehicle weight to be achieved. However, problems can arise during repairs in identifying where HS steel has been used. In addition, great care is required when straightening or welding this material, since the application of excessive heat is detrimental to its molecular structure. This plastic bumper has only suffered a small crack, so it'll be far more economical to repair it than to replace it. In this case, after preparation, it's first tacked and then welded with a hot air gun. Plastics can also be fused with a soldering iron or bonded using adhesives. Both are excellent alternative methods of repairing plastics. Some plastics, known as thermosets, can't be repaired by methods involving heat. Therefore, adhesives have to be used. Repairs to visible plastic components are only acceptable if a cosmetically satisfactory finish can be achieved. After painting has been carried out, this repair is undetectable. Replacing only the damaged sections of panels and structural members is a convenient method of reducing the cost of a repair without in any way having an adverse effect on the safety of the vehicle. On this car, the damaged flitch panel is first removed to give access for a section of the left-hand front chassis member to be replaced. The front section is cut away, leaving an overlap. The new panel is cut to match. A cut is then made through both the new section and the remaining section of the damaged panel in order to ensure an exact fit. The new section is then MIG welded onto the undamaged remnant of the old panel. When this area is finished, the joint will be undetectable. Restoring corrosion protection treatments is a vital part of the repair process in order to maintain the validity of the manufacturer's anti-corrosion warranty. The application of just 3 of the protective coatings required is shown here. Underbody vinyl, which protects against stone chips. Cavity wax, which is sprayed into all the cavities of the vehicle where moisture and condensation would otherwise start to cause corrosion. And underbody wax, a flexible coating which protects and seals all over the underside of the car. However, there are many other anti-corrosion measures which have to be taken into account during the repair to satisfy the requirements of the warranty. Vehicle glazing is also worth a closer look. Apart from the front and rear screens, there are the drop glasses and the quarter lights. The windscreen glass may be either toughened or laminated. Side windows are almost always toughened. A toughened screen which sustains damage will shatter. A laminated screen suffering similar damage will merely crack. There are 2 methods of fixing screens. Direct glazing, shown on the left, in which the screen is bonded to the car with an adhesive, and indirect glazing, shown on the right, in which a rubber gasket is used to hold the glass in position. It's worth remembering that the safer laminated screens are always more expensive than toughened screens, and that bonded screens take much longer to fit and are therefore more expensive than indirectly glazed screens. Undamaged screens often need to be removed to create access for panel replacement. There are 2 methods of buying paint. A large repairer may have a mixing system from one of the leading paint companies. By combining a number of different tinters, the majority of colors can be matched from existing stocks held. It usually requires about 6 tinters mixed together to prepare a color. A small repairer may find it more convenient to buy ready mixed paint from a local factor, although sometimes a minimum quantity of 1 litre is supplied, which will often be more than is required for a minor accident repair. There are 3 basic paint systems in frequent use: solid colour, conventional metallic, and base coat and clear. A variation in paint times between cars with similar damage will occur, dependent on the paint system required. Apart from the primer and the paint, there are a number of sundry materials connected with the refinishing process, anything from sanding discs to degreasing solvent. Information on paint and sundries is contained in Thatcham's Paint Material Costs Comparisons booklet. This program is intended only as a brief introduction to the business of vehicle body repair. More detailed information is contained in the Thatcham Methods Manuals, the series of special Thatcham reports, the Parts Price Guide, the Paint Material Costs Comparisons booklet, and in the other video training programs available from Thatcham.